Howdy. Today, we will be taking a look at Studio Series Gamer Edition Optimus Prime. This figure is based on Optimus Prime's appearance in Transformers War for Cybertron, the video game. We will also be taking a look at DNA Design DK43 upgrade kit for Studio Series Gamer Edition Optimus Prime. This figure comes with one Ion Blaster, one Matrix of Leadership, and one Transforming Battle Axe. The Ion Blaster can be connected to the figure by removing his right forearm and attaching the Ion Blaster to the 5mm port. This only works on the right arm because, unlike Fall of Cybertron, in War for Cybertron, you could not swap your shooting hand, so you could only ever use the weapon on the right hand. Still, this feature is pretty cool and is a shared gimmick with the rest of the Studio Series Gamer Edition figures. In his robot mode, Studio Series Gamer Edition...
Hey,
what? I'm busy here.
I don't care about the robot mode.
What do you mean you don't care?
Yeah, but you've got the DNA design kit. Why don't you just attach that and then?
Well, yeah, I was gonna get to the DNA design kit later, but I mean there are some problems with this figure.
Yeah, but the problems of the figure are fixed by the DNA design kit. That's why you got the DNA design kit.
Okay,
So
I'll just skip straight to the DNA design application then, I guess.
Just review the robot mode with the kit on.
Instructions for this kit are very straightforward. The first piece that we note is the gap filler for the thigh. The thigh is probably the most egregious spot to be fixed on this figure because it's just so open and hollow. An easy fix for these gap fillers. The next portion of this upgrade kit are these fillers for the outsides of the legs. The outsides of the legs have a bunch of mainly structural detail that are designed for the inside of the piece, but the piece is seen from both sides. So this part just simply adds detail to the outside. The next addition are these toe fillers. Even though the feet are not seen from the bottom in robot mode, they are on top of the vehicle mode, so filling the toes is an easy way to make this figure look a lot more cohesive, especially in its vehicle mode. Next up is probably my favorite, and probably a lot of the reasons that people bought this kit to begin with. These are heels in robot mode, but in vehicle mode, they cover up the large gap in the back of the vehicle that just left the fists exposed. Obviously, when you're playing the video game and driving around, in vehicle mode, you don't have these massive fists hanging out the back of the figure. This is why one of the most important parts of this kit is probably this single piece, or set of pieces, I suppose. All you need to do is insert them into the back of the foot. There are a couple holes that you can utilize for this, though try not to rip the foot off like I did. You can just put it back on the figure, but this was certainly concerning when I initially did it, to say the least. Next up is probably the trickiest part of this upgrade kit. There are two tiny little shoulder filler pieces that come on a little plastic sprue. You need to snap them off and look very carefully at them. The tab indicates which side the piece will go on, and the top of the tab will sit towards the top of the figure, not the bottom. Once you have placed these tabs in place, you can then grab the extra wheels, or partial wheels, that will help to fill out these shoulders. In the game, Optimus has these very big, bulky wheels on his shoulders, and that isn't necessarily reflected in the base design of this figure. However, adding these extra partial wheels really makes the figure feel a lot bulkier, even though this figure is already pretty bulky. The last non-weapon upgrade piece is this tiny little plastic piece that clips into the back. Well, it kinda clips in, it just kinda fits in with friction. This piece has a little slot in it that is designed to hold the forearm using the tab on the forearm that is utilized in vehicle mode. This provides for a place to store the forearm when you're using the Ion Blaster, instead of having to just throw it to the side or chuck it in a bin or maybe even lose it. I think it's a pretty thoughtful addition to this figure. This next part is a piece I don't really agree with on principle, but I understand why they included it. It's a piece that slots into the ion blaster and gives it a handle so that Optimus can hold it normally. Unfortunately, the tolerances on this handle are not great, and it ends up flopping around, and he doesn't hold it terribly well, but he does hold it well enough to put him in some static poses. The final addition is this brand new Energon axe with transparent blades. Now, this is way better than the base one just on how it looks, but the transformation is a little bit more difficult. When you're rotating the kind of half axe head around, you have to make sure that it actually stays slotted into that mushroom peg because it has a tendency to pop out. Finally, you can just split it down the middle using the fact that it's kind of split into two handles, insert one end into his fist, and then add the rest of the axe back on top. And there you have it. There's the DNA kit all attached, and I think it looks amazing. In his robot mode, Optimus Prime with the DNA design upgrade kit is almost perfect. I mean, this figure is almost exactly how it looks in the game. The only aesthetic choice that I disagree with is the fact that they couldn't include the Autobot logo on his back. It's a shame that they couldn't flip around the inside of the front of the truck and have an Autobot insignia just smack dab in the middle of his back. That would have made this figure perfect. But there are also some articulation issues with this figure, being that it comes from that chunky War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron aesthetic. It doesn't have a whole lot of articulation. I am impressed with some of the articulation that it has, like the fact that the elbows can actually bend beyond 90 degrees, but you can definitely see in this pose that the knees are definitely not getting even to 90 degrees. It barely makes it, but it's arguable whether it really does or not. But otherwise, it just looks fantastic, and the DNA design kit really does help it look better. Those thighs are entirely hollow, so the DNA design gap fillers are incredible. And again, the wheels and the shoulder fillers make this figure look so beefy. And that axe, man, this axe looks so much better than the base version. I love that they use the transparent plastic instead of the boring normal plastic. And I love how they include the normal transformation from the normal axe as well. It's basically exactly the same as the normal axe, except better in basically every single way. Here's how Voyager Optimus Prime scales with Deluxe Class Deep Cover, Voyager Class Sweep, and Leader Class Grimlock. Oh, and it's doing that weird thing with the Decepticon logo again, where it's not purple. I tried fixing it this time, but it didn't work. Here's how Voyager Optimus Prime scales with Deluxe Class Studio Series Gamer Edition Barricade and Voyager Class Takara Tomy Legends Soundwave. Here's how Voyager Optimus Prime scales with Planet X Jupiter. Oh, and I forgot to mention, early purchases of the DNA design kit would include an extra Energon axe. So, you know, you can give it to a buddy, like Planet X Jupiter. It actually fits pretty well with Planet X Jupiter. In his vehicle mode, Optimus Prime is a Cybertronian truck. In his vehicle mode, Studio Series Gamer Edition Optimus Prime looks great. I mean, this vehicle mode is almost exactly how it looks in the game. There are a couple challenges with the DNA design kit, but we'll get to that in a second. I want to talk about these taillights. Funny story about these taillights, they weren't actually included on the original design, but so many people pointed it out to DNA that they said, alright, we'll have to paint the back red because, you know, the design in the game had taillights. Now, about those challenges, some of these pieces actually add some clearance issues. Remember that little plate that kind of fit into the back with friction? That piece actually started to crack on me because the head crest actually pokes into it while you're trying to close the canopy over the front of the vehicle mode. Now, it's fine for now, and I don't really intend to flip it back and forth, but just keep that in mind. You can always remove the piece, or if you want to just leave it in robot mode, you can glue it in place. Another note about the taillights is that they actually have a super long peg that fit between the pieces, and that can cause some issues with clearances. It looks like they don't really fit together perfectly well. Otherwise, this vehicle mode is just absolutely incredible. The original design is great, and the DNA design kit does very little to actually modify how it looks in vehicle mode, besides the incredibly obvious fists sticking out the back of the truck, which are now covered by these incredible taillights. I gotta say, this kit is definitely worth the money, even though it does cost more than the original figure at MSRP, but nonetheless, I would highly recommend purchasing this kit if you plan on buying this figure. Here's how Voyager Optimus Prime scales with Deluxe Class Deep Cover, Voyager Class Artfire, and Leader Class Laser Optimus Prime. Here's how Voyager Optimus Prime scales with Deluxe Class Studio Series Gamer Edition Barricade and Voyager Class Fall of Cybertron Sound Blaster. Here's how Voyager Class Optimus Prime scales with Planet X Jupiter. I hope you've enjoyed this brief look at Studio Series Gamer Edition Optimus Prime and the DNA Design DK43 Upgrade Kit. If there are any other figures you'd like me to take a look at next, leave a comment down below. And as always, I'm Leo, reminding you that plastic toys don't belong in plastic prisons. See you next time.